Hi everybody, myself Kaish, and this is our 8th lecture of learning Python for data science. In this lecture, we're going to learn about lists in Python. So here are the topics, here are the mainly 5 topics we're going to cover in this lecture. First one is creating lists, and second one is the indexing and slicing. And after this, we will learn about some basic methods that are used in lists. And the fourth one is nesting of lists, and at last we will see introduction to lists comprehension. So let's get started. So earlier in our last lecture we see the sequence of Python, how we can use the concept of sequence in Python. In the most general, we can see the lists are also a sequence in Python, but unlike the strings, the lists are mutable such that we can change the element of a list. We can insert new elements in the list, we can delete elements from the list, and we can also add two lists to make a new list. So the lists are constructed with the this braces. We can construct, let us see how we can construct a list. First of all, we give the list name. Let's say the list one is the list name, and we usually construct list with this braces, and the elements of the list are separated by commas. So we can see here, let's say we have a list named array, and it contains number from 1 to 5. So we will write the elements like 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So the lists are mainly constructed using this braces, and the elements of the list are separated by comma. Now let us create a list. The list name is my list. List name is a type of variable. It is basically a data type in Python. If you know some other programming languages like C, C++, then there are concept of arrays, but in Python we have concept of lists. So let's suppose we have a list, my list, and it contains the element 1, 2, 3. Now we can also print it like my list, and when you run this command we will see the elements of the list will be printed. So the list will be printed like this. It is basically an array, but here in Python the list differ from the arrays of other programming languages like Java, C, C++. Here the list may contains the different object types, like it may contain a string, it may contain an integer, it may contain a floating point number or anything. Like let's say we are creating a list, my list, and it may contain a string and a character or integer, and when we run this command we will see the list of these elements will be printed. We can print, sorry, we can print my list here, and when we run this command we'll see the list will be printed, a string 23, 100, 32 and O. There is a length function to find the length of the string. The length of the string will be the total number of the elements in the list. So here the total number of the elements in the list are 5. So when we run the command length and will pass the name of the list, then it will return the total length of the list. So when we run this command it will return the length of our string. So here we have 1, 2, 3 and 4. There are 4 elements so the 4 will be returned here. Now let us see the concept of indexing and slicing in lists. Now let us suppose we are creating a list which contains 4 elements, 1, 2, 3. These are the strings, and 1, 2 integers, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 elements, and which contains 3 strings and 2 integers. Now if you have gone through my last lecture of the strings, string also contains the concept of indexing and slicing. Same applies to lists. We can get the elements of lists by their index position. Now let us suppose we want to get the element at the position 0. So as we can see from this declaration of the list, at 0th position the list contains a string 1. Let us just run this command, and a list will be created having the name my list, and when we run this command 1 will be printed. So 1 is at the 0th position, so when we run this command my list 0, so the element at the 0th position in the list will be printed. Now to grab all the elements from the index 1 or from the given position, we can use the index value and colon, and we just keep it blank here. So my list, and in the braces we will give first, because we want to get everything from the index first up to the last. So when we run this line, we will get 2 3 4 5, because the index position 1 start at this and it goes up to the last. So when we run this line, when we run this cell, we will get 2 3 4 5. And to get everything up to an index, like when we want to get every elements printed up to the index 3 excluding index 3, so the syntax is here: my list, then braces, then colon, then the index value. So when we run this command, we'll get everything up to the index 3 excluding the index 3, so 0 1 2, and after index 3 and index 3 values are excluded. And we can also introduce the concatenate function in the list, like we concatenated the strings in our previous lecture. So to do this, when we want to add some new items, when we want to add some new elements to the list, just it was our previous list, my list was our previous list, and when we want to add some new item, like let's suppose we want to add a new item that is a string, when we run this command, a new item will be added here. That was the new item, a string. But please make sure that writing this line will not change our previous list, because we are not appending anything, or we're not assigning anything to our previous list. So when we print this, the previous list will be printed. If we reassign something to our previous list, like if we change it here, like my list is equals to my list plus, we are adding a permanent item. Like let us suppose we are adding here a string add new item permanently, and we are reassigning the new generated list. This was our new generated list. When we run this command or run this cell, we will get a new generated list, and we are assigning this new generated list to our previous list. So this will make our previous list to change by adding the new element that has been added. So here we have added add new item permanently. Now we can also use this duplication method similar to strings. So as we can see, we use duplication method by multiplying with some integer to a string. It will duplicate the string that many times. So we can do the same in the string, in list. So my list multiplied by 2, it will create the list of having length of 2 times 1 2 3 4 5, add new item permanently, then it will be repeated 2 times 1 2 3 4 5, add new item permanently. But make sure here also the our previous list will not be changed. To change our previous list, we have to make sure to reassigning the values. Like if you reassign the value to the our previous list, like my list is equals to my list into 2, then it will change our previous list. When we run this, our previous list will be changed, as you can see here. Now let us see some basic methods that you can use on the lists in the Python. And if you are familiar with another programming language, as I have told earlier, you might draw some parallelism between the list in the Python and the arrays in that programming language. But in Python programming language, the list have some more flexibility. You can get the length of the list. We can do perform many basic methods on the list. So let us see, we have a list 1, which contains the value 1 2 3. Let us run this cell, and we have created a new list, and we can just print the list and see the values of the list. Here you can see the values of the list are 1 2 3. In the Python, we can append the list by using the append method. The syntax of the append method is the list name, then dot append, and insert the item you want to append in the list. So list1 dot append, and we are giving a value append me. So when you run this cell, when you run this line, and when you see the value of the list, it will add the appended element here. You can also pop up the elements from the list, and by default when you run the pop up command in the list, it will pop up the elements at the last index. Like let us run list 1 dot pop, and it will pop the last element append me from the list. And you can use the indexing here also to pop up the specific element from the list using the elements index position. Like I want to pop up the element having the 0th index, so it will pop up 1 from the 0. Here the at 0th position element is 1, here 1 will be pop up. But make sure after popping the list will change. We have popped up the elements from the list, so the list value will be changed. We have popped up append me, we have popped up the element at the 0th position, so the remaining elements in the list will be 2 and 3. We can assign that popped element to some variables, like we have popped item is equal to list1 dot pop. Here the popped item 3 will be popped up and it will be stored in the popped item variable. So run this cell and here you will see the popped item is 3 and the remaining item in the list will be only 2. So when you run this cell, you will see now the list contains only 2. Now let us suppose you are giving an index that is not in the range of your list. Like your list contains only 5 elements or 10 elements and you are just calling the 100 element index, like element at the 100 position. So here it will cause an error cause the list you have created is not containing that many elements, so the list index out of range, so the list doesn't contain that many elements or the index is out of range. Here there are some other methods, some other basic method that are sorting the list, reversing the list. Like let us suppose we have a new list A, E, X, B, C. Run this cell and you have the new list having the element A, E, X, B, C. Now let us suppose you want to reverse the list. Like here is A, E, X, B and you want to make it like C, B, X, E, A. So it's so simple in the Python. Just type new list, that was our basic syntax in the methods of the list name dot the method name. In earlier we seen like here we have seen the pop for popping we use list dot pop, we use dot append to add any element to the list. Here we will use reverse method, the method name is reverse. So when you run this cell, you will see the elements of the list will be reversed. Like earlier it was containing A, E, X, B, C, now it contains C, B, X, E, A. You can also sort the list and the element will be sorted like in dictionary order, or if you are using the integers as the elements of the list, so it will be sorted in increasing order. So it will be sorted in A, B, C, E, X as like a dictionary. There is also a concept of nesting the list, like putting the value of a list. Like let us suppose we have a list, use this example, like we have a list and we can reassign some list 1, list 2 or list 3 in this list. This is called the nesting of the list. So a great feature of the Python data structure is that they support nesting. This means that we have data structure within the data structure, like we have list within the list. Like let us see this example. We have list 1, 1, 2, 3, list 2, 4, 5, 6 and list 3, 7, 8, 9. And let us suppose we want to create a matrix of these many lists. So we will pass list 1, list 2, list 3 to this matrix list. So when you run this cell, you will see a matrix will be created having the elements as the elements of this list. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can see this is within this braces and this one is within this braces and this one is within this braces and all of these are within this braces. So the outer braces denotes the matrix and the inner braces denotes the list 1, list 2 and list 3. We can also use the indexing to grab the elements, but here we need two type of indexing. First indexing for the index of the outer, that is the outer list, and second indexing for the inner lists. So let us suppose we want to get the values of the list of the matrix at the first position, that is at the 0th index. So it will give 1, 2, 3, because in the matrix at the first position at the 0th index it contains 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that is the list 1 as an element. Now let us suppose we want to get 1, so you have to use two indexes 0 and 0 to get the 1. if you want to get 3 here from here, so you have to use here matrix 0, and from here 0 1 2. In the next index you have to give 2, so it will give you 3. Now let us suppose you want to get 9 from the matrix, so you can get it like this matrix, then this list at the second index, you can see from here 0 1 2, and the 9 is at 0 1 2, also second position. So run this command and you will see 9 will be returned back. So this was regarding the indexing in the list having some nesting. Now we have a concept of list comprehension. So they allow the quick construction of the list. The list comprehension is a concept in which by which you can use it in Python and create the list in a very short time. Like in a single line you can create a list, but here we'll not cover the list comprehension. We'll see it in our later videos or later lecture, but let us see an example how you can create the list using the list comprehension. So let us see, we have a list first column and we want to give it values using the for loop, and please keep in mind, while creating the list using the list comprehension we mostly use the loops, but till now we haven't learned about what the loops are and how the loop works. So in later videos after learning about the loops we will see how the list comprehension works. So if you are unable to understand how this code is working, then don't worry, after learning about the loops we'll cover the list comprehension in later videos. So row 0 from the row in the matrix, so the row 0 is the index, and for in row is a variable, temporary variable here in the matrix. So matrix is our let us see what was our matrix. Run this command and see what was our matrix. So matrix was our list having the nesting of list itself. So when you run this command, a list will be created having the row 0.